Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode. And I'm excited that we have Marisa Nicole with us today. And her business is Marisa Nicole. Her email is marisanicole.co. So I just want to get that out really quick. And what Marisa does is she helps women who get stuck in their head. And I want to learn more about this. So tell me, Marisa, welcome, and tell me, what do you do with people that are stuck in their head?
Thank you for having me. Yeah. So I remember starting out on my own journey, the battle between, strategy and then moving into more energetics and this whole thing and how it plays. And well, you have to have a funnel, you have to have an email sequence. You need all of these pieces. You need to make sure you're hitting these pain points. You want to tell a story and you have to post every day, but you don't want to be too salesy and you don't want to do this and you want to do that, but not that way and this way. And all of the things that really just get us stuck into a mind loop and leads to more questions. And you might find that what worked for someone else doesn't work for you. And then maybe it works for you for a little bit, but not the way it worked for them. So what I do is throughout my journey, I've come to this place now where I help people break out of their mind and into higher consciousness. And one of the main pieces that got me there at first, the big permission slip that let me kind of start questioning, what are we doing here? Who are we? Why are we here? Might be a little deep for an entrepreneur podcast. I don't know. If you're here, you're ready for it. You're supposed to hear it. What's human design and how that speaks about really the fact that we have this underlying guidance system and the mind thinks it knows where to go, what to do, how to get there, when in reality it's a passenger in the back seat of a limo. So it's not even driving the car. It can't even see in the front. It's, looking towards the sides, just waving and saying hello, but it still wants to tell you, well, you haven't posted today. So go on Instagram right now, go live on Facebook, go do whatever you need to do, when in reality it doesn't know. So giving me that opportunity to play around with the fact that there is, something greater guiding us was really amazing. And it's just the simplicity of it is it's so simple that the mind makes it complicated. And so I really just help guide women through this process of dropping the mind, letting go, and just fully surrendering into their higher consciousness.
Okay. So tell me what exactly does that look like? Like if you're letting go, if you're letting the mind go.
Yeah, it's when you think of something, okay, I was supposed to email them back and I forgot, and I'm enjoying time with my kids right now. Like, it's great, but I just had this thought that I need to email my kids. So instead of picking up your phone and not email your kids, okay, picking up your phone and emailing the person,
I know you
right
meant.
that moment. Yeah. Right that moment, you just stay in the present moment and be with your kids, be with whatever you're doing, be in the present, and realize that you'll get to the email when you'll get to it. So it's not following the mind. So it's something as simple as that, a thought, oh, I need to do this. And then the mind places urgency on it, like this needs to be done right now, which is not the case, but the mind is very convincing. It might give you a little chest palpitations, like, okay, well, if I don't email them back quick enough, then someone else is going to email them. And then, my opportunity for a job or whatever is going to go away, or I'm going to miss this. But that's not true. So it's very simple, everyday things. And that's what breaks us out of the loop of finding situations, finding arguments, finding experiences that really bring to our attention that we're not aware. And until we're aware that we have been unaware, we aren't going to be able to break through it. And so, I mean, personally, I did a lot of work like with ancestral healing. But the reality is you don't have to shift your focus, shift your intention to these great big healings, like very traumatic, my childhood, abuse, anything. You can handle it within, the argument with your husband, someone cutting you off, like all of these little scenarios, which the mind deems less significant than those traumatic events. But the reality is everything's equal. So being able to focus on that, we cycle through all of the buildup, all of the, whatever you want to call it, cords that keep us, stuck to the mind, clinging to the mind, believing that the mind's everything, knows everything, and helps us push through that into the higher consciousness.
So it sounds like it's like you're redirecting.
Yeah.
Your brain's pulling you in one way, saying you have to go, return that email, or you have to go post here or whatever, that you're redirecting it to stay in the present. So just being present in your life or in your work or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, it's interrupting that pattern that we build. And it's the thought patterns. Like I said, it's the emotional patterns, just being aware of, okay, every time I have to go pay this bill, I get really anxious, or whatever it is. Or, every time, my partner says a snide remark to me, then I feel like he's going to leave me, and then I'm going to be alone. Then I can't pay for my bills, and I'm going to be homeless, and then I'm going to die alone on the street. Like, you might not consciously think that, but your brain kind of subconsciously goes into the dark depths, and that fear at first, recognizing it, is powerful. So yeah, interrupting those patterns.
Okay. Now, something interesting you said is that you can work through that in smaller things that are happening the same way that you can in larger ways, like for healing. So explain how that works.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I dedicated a lot of my time to healing, and through work with others and, just self-reflection, once I realized that nothing needs to be healed and everything's perfect, that gave me the freedom. And of course, it's easier said than done. And I don't want to make it sound like, I did have a great upbringing and everything was amazing and beautiful. But, a little bit removed in my family, there's sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, all of these different things, like attempted murder, so not something that's all rainbows and butterflies, but just realizing that they had to do what they had to do because those were the only tools they had. If they were supposed to have done something else, then they would have done something else. And who am I to judge someone who I've never met, or, died 15 years ago when I was a little kid, based on something they did? Because right now in the moment, everything's perfect. I'm exactly where I need to be. And I'm exactly where I need to be because of these events. So then taking it the next step forward, of course, there's certain things, that I did focus slight more attention on, but it wasn't much more than like a 15-minute just almost meditation on it, and realizing, okay, at first I would have never said I was neutral about sexual abuse in my family, but I can't change anything. I can't change them. It's all the pieces come together. So when those like dropping off, those tricklings of whatever traumatic events have happened, whatever conditioning you've gotten that, creates these negative responses, these negative patterns in your life, when you see them show up in little ways, like even you're just having a casual conversation and someone says something that triggers you, and you're aware that your body, your human is reacting in a certain way, it's that moment of clarity and awareness where you process through, which will go towards, the overall accumulation of that negative pattern, if that makes sense.
Okay. So are you saying, okay, I understand what you're saying there. But so if somebody actually had trauma,
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that you can decide without having to kind of go through a healing process, that you can decide to end that suffering or that whatever, that reaction to the trauma.
Yeah. So the mind loves to label things and loves to, of course, healing's one of the, main touted ones, especially kind of in the more spiritual coaching industry. But it's almost less deciding and more surrendering and just accepting. So the acceptance of everything. And if I accept everything, then that means I do not want to change anything. And so I'm able to accept that whatever traumatic event, situations, conditionings I went through has brought me here. I've learned something from it. Maybe I haven't. I don't know why. I don't ever need to know why. The mind needs to know why. But all I know is that, like, just complete acceptance, complete surrender. I don't want to change anything. And again, it's very simple, but the mind wants to say, but okay, this happened and they did this, and you know how long it hurt you. But again, we don't need to know the why behind it. That's where the mind wants to take us in these loops, and then we get stuck.
So have you had something traumatic happen to you that you've done this?
I've had, like, I think a majority of women, I've had my experiences with sexual assault and those situations. And so, yeah, I've worked my way through that. And, of course, there's sometimes still, well, a thought will pop up and I go, ooh, it's not a pleasant situation, but I don't dwell on it and I don't feel guilt. I don't feel ashamed. I don't feel afraid. I don't let those feelings guide me or take over. I just acknowledge it and then move on. I don't follow the mind. I don't follow it and think more about the event or then other events or what's going on in current society or an article I read, which I don't really try and keep up with the news anymore because most of these stories are not that uplifting, not things I really want to consume. But, I don't follow that. And then I'm able, again, like you mentioned, and I was saying, come back to the present and just be completely okay, unattached, accepting of the moment.
So I'm going to be honest here. I have a problem with some of that. Like, I've had trauma and I don't accept it. I won't ever accept it. I won't ever accept for myself or anyone else when I don't want to make this too personal, but just if there's sexual abuse or if there's physical abuse or if there's mental abuse or emotional abuse, especially from an adult to a child, I don't accept it and I won't ever accept it. And if that means that every once in a while I might follow my brain down, a negative path, as long as I don't stay there, because I've done my own healing, or the person doesn't stay there because they've done their own healing. I don't see a problem with that. I see how what you're saying can be very beneficial, again, to stay present and, and to get unstuck. Cause I think we can get stuck in those thoughts. We can get stuck on, in the feeling of what happened to us. But I think the healing has to come first and then the presence. That's just my opinion.
No, totally.
But so tell me, how successful is it you working with women in this way?
I mean, it's hard there's no really set metrics, but the change is noticed subtly more on the physical side. Because again, if everything is neutral and if nothing really has any more significance than the other, like hearing birds chirping, being present versus, I don't know, having a great day at work or landing the sale or whatever, they're both great. And it's this continued awareness and being able to stay in it for a prolonged period of time. So even after we stop working together and they're not having the constant support, because it really is like in the beginning needing really almost constant support, because you go here, you go there, your mind goes everywhere. But yeah, it really changes your life and then in turn those around you, because they're a reflection of you. And so improved relationships, improved clients, and not just this client wants to pay me all this money, I need to work with them. The client that I want to work with wants to pay me. And it sounds really cheesy. And of course there's, some people cheesifying it. But
I know, I believe in that. The people that we want to work with want to work with us. Yeah.
And then when you work with people who you might not necessarily want to work with, but they'll pay you, and then you experience that, you go, okay, yeah.
You learn.
The money doesn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about the money. We have to be, we have to support ourselves, but it's not about the money.
Yeah.
You have to choose your clients. I firmly believe that. Otherwise you can be miserable a good part of your day.
Yeah. And that's not how you want to be experiencing this life, for sure.
Yeah.
But I want to say too, like, your belief is amazing and perfect for you. And then I have mine, and, we have these realities that are interlinking right now at the moment, but they're still separate. And I did actually, one of the traumas in my family was incestual with a adult child relationship. So it was not me personally, but I did get to a place of acceptance with that. And if you would have told me that, I mean, really, before I started doing this, I would have said, you're crazy. And maybe you're not supposed to ever feel that way. Maybe this is how you're supposed to feel that way. It doesn't matter. I don't know. You don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
Whatever you're supposed to feel,
But I think again, I think it matters if it's you accepting something that's happened to you, or you accepting something that's happened to somebody close to you. I mean, there's a difference, right? Like if something happens to my kids, something happened to my middle son in a daycare. Not sexual, but like they tied him up. And of course I felt that to my bone, right? To my bones. Like I felt that and I reacted to it, and, I took care of it in a couple different ways. But still, if that happened to me, there's a different kind of acceptance and healing that has to happen. Right? Like I had to fight for my son to heal and fight for my son to, get past it at a very young age. But myself, like if it was me doing that, it would be totally different. I think it's degrees. It's kind of like degrees of healing and acceptance and moving on. Anyway, I'm getting too deep here. I don't want to get too much into it. So anyway, okay. So you work with women to help them do that. So that sounds, I mean, again, pretty cool, especially about staying in the present and, being not following, like going down the rabbit hole with our thoughts and our actions. So I love that. And I like how you talked about how we just don't allow, those things to impact us on a certain level. So tell me, how can people get a hold of you if they would like to work with you on in this way, on this journey?
Yeah. They can go to my website, marisanicole.co, marisanicole.co. Email me, marisa@marisanicole. There's a form to submit. I'm on Instagram when I get the urge, when I get the nudge to go, not on a posted schedule. But yeah, I'm happy to speak to you wherever and answer any questions, because I'm sure the mind has some questions for me, but we can tackle that together.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Marisa, for joining us today. Guys, I hope you got a lot out of this, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.